Have you ever heard of a war where one side was armed with machine guns and the other side was birds? It sounds like a joke, but it actually happened. Today, we're diving into one of the strangest conflicts in history, the Great Emu War of 1932. Imagine this. It's post-World War I Australia. The government has a plan. They give plots of land in Western Australia to thousands of returning veterans, encouraging them to become wheat farmers. It's a noble idea, a new start for the heroes who served their country. These new farms pop up in an area known as the Wheat Belt. By the early 1930s, around 5,000 of these ex-soldiers are trying to make a living off the land. But then, disaster strikes. Not just one, but two. First, the Great Depression hits, and the price of wheat plummets. Farmers are already struggling to make ends meet. Then comes the second disaster, a severe drought. The land is parched, resources are scarce, and everyone is desperate. And that's when they arrived. Not soldiers, but emus. 20,000 emus to be exact. These large, flightless birds are native to Australia, and after their breeding season, they began a massive migration inland from the coast, searching for food and water. And where did they find it? You guessed it, the freshly planted wheat farms of our struggling veterans. The emus were a force of nature. They weren't just eating the crops, they were trampling them, destroying everything in their path. To make matters worse, they were breaking down the rabbit-proof fences that were supposed to protect the farms. Once the fences were down, hordes of rabbits could get in, adding to the destruction. The farmers were at their wits' end. Desperate, these veterans did what they knew best. They called for military backup. They petitioned the government for help, and surprisingly, the Minister of Defense, Sir George Pierce, agreed. He authorized a military operation to deal with the emu problem, officially framing it as nuisance wildlife management, but everyone knew what it was. It was war. So, in October of 1932, the Australian military prepared for battle. The 7th Heavy Battery of the Royal Australian Artillery was deployed. The force was small but seemed overwhelmingly powerful for the task at hand. It consisted of Major G.P.W. Meredith, 2 soldiers, Sergeant McMurray and Gunner O'Halloran, and their secret weapons, 2 Lewis machine guns and a staggering 10,000 rounds of ammunition. This wasn't just a few guys with rifles. This was heavy artillery against birds. The plan seemed simple enough. The soldiers would use their military tactics to herd the emus into ambushes, where the machine guns could mow them down efficiently. The farmers, eager for a solution, agreed to provide food, lodging, and even transportation for the troops. To top it all off, a cinematographer from Fox Movietone was sent along to capture the glorious victory for the newsreels. The operation was set to begin on November 2nd, but a sudden downpour of rain delayed the first engagement. The emus, unbothered by the weather, scattered into smaller groups, making them even harder to target. 2 days later, on November 4th, the soldiers finally got their chance. They spotted a flock of about 1,000 emus near the town of Campion. This was it. The ambush was set, and it was a complete disaster. The emus, instead of falling in neat rows, panicked and scattered in every direction. They were incredibly fast, reaching speeds of up to 50 kilometers per hour, or 31 miles per hour. Trying to hit a target moving that fast and erratically was nearly impossible. To make matters worse, one of the Lewis guns jammed after firing just a few rounds. By the time the dust settled, only about a dozen emus had been killed. The other 988 had vanished into the bush. The soldiers, however, were not ready to give up. They tried a new tactic. They mounted one of the machine guns onto a truck, thinking they could chase the emus down. This also proved to be a terrible idea. The ride was so jarring that the gunner couldn't even aim properly. It was a chaotic, bouncing pursuit that yielded 0 results. On top of their speed and agility, the emus turned out to be shockingly resilient. There were reports of birds taking multiple bullet hits and just continuing to run, seemingly unfazed. One historian noted that the emus had the invulnerability of tanks. By November 8th, after nearly a week of fighting and firing 2,500 rounds of ammunition, the official body count was a measly 50 emus. The media back home was having a field day. The Great Emu War was becoming a national joke. Embarrassed and facing public ridicule, the military ordered a temporary withdrawal. Round 1 went to the emus, but the farmers were still desperate. The emus hadn't gone anywhere, and their crops were still being destroyed. They pleaded with the government to send the troops back in. So, on November 13th, the second phase of the Emu War began. Major Meredith and his men returned to the field, perhaps a little wiser, and definitely more determined. This time, they had a bit more success. They abandoned the large-scale ambush tactics and focused on smaller, more strategic engagements. They were more patient, they learned the birds' patterns, and their aim got better. Over the next month, until December 10th, the second campaign was far more effective than the first. The military fired another 9,860 rounds and managed to kill an estimated 986 emus. It took roughly 10 bullets to kill just one emu. Even with nearly 1,000 birds down, it was just a drop in the bucket compared to the total population of 20,000. The military had used up all its ammunition and had barely made a dent. On December 10th, the military officially withdrew for good. Major Meredith, the commander of the whole operation, was left to file his report. He famously commented on the emus' uncanny ability to evade capture, noting their remarkable tactical maneuvers. He even quipped that if the emus had a military command structure, they would have faced our machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks. He added that each flock seemed to have a leader, a big black-plumed bird, that would keep watch while the others ate, and would give a warning cry that sent the entire group scattering at the first sign of danger. In his eyes, the emus weren't just pests, they were worthy adversaries. There were no human casualties in the war, but Australia's military pride had certainly taken a hit. The emus had, for all intents and purposes, won. They survived the military assault and continued to be a problem for farmers for years to come. In fact, farmers requested military aid again in 1934, 1943, and 1948, but the government, likely not wanting another public embarrassment, denied their requests. Instead, they fell back on a different solution, a bounty system. This had been tried before, and now it was reinstated with renewed vigor. Civilians were paid for every emu they culled. In just 6 months during 1934, bounty hunters claimed over 57,000 emu kills. It turned out that a motivated civilian population was far more deadly to the emus than the organized army. The legacy of the Great Emu War is one of humor and humility. It quickly became a symbol of human hubris and the folly of underestimating nature. Sir George Pierce, the Minister of Defense who approved the operation, was forever nicknamed the Minister for the Emu War. The event has been immortalized in books, documentaries, video games, and countless internet memes. It's often brought up as one of the most absurd and comical episodes in military history, a story that proves truth can be stranger than fiction. Today, emus are a protected species in Australia. The war serves as a fascinating case study in early wildlife management, highlighting the challenges that arise when human expansion clashes with the natural world. It's a reminder that sometimes, even with all our technology and firepower, nature has a way of fighting back in the most unexpected ways. The Great Emu War of 1932 wasn't a story of military conquest, but a lesson that some battles just can't be won. So what do you think? Was this the most ridiculous war ever fought? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this strange slice of history, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more incredible stories. See you next time.